There's a nonprofit in Denver called Art from Ashes, and their mission is to empower struggling youth to express themselves through creative writing, painting, poetry. One 16-year-old girl that went through that program wrote a poem. Her name was Jessica Hernandez. She entitled it, "I Seem to Be, but Really I Am and I Choose to Be." She wrote, "I am kind and respectful. Others see me as a disrespectful teenager that just likes to get in trouble. But really I am a kid that wants a good education. My parents see me as an irresponsible child, but really I am taking care of other things. I don't want trouble. They see me as a mean kid with lots of hate. But really I like to be nice and loving. I seem to be a fighter. Someone who doesn't like connections. It seems I don't want peace, but really I'm outgoing. I like to play sports. I want to get my education. I like to smell good and look nice. I can soon buy myself a bike and my own car once I get a good job. But I really do want peace, where there is no violence. I really don't want to fight. I really would love to have connections with everybody without any trouble. I love having people around me to get to know them. I choose to be kind to others I don't know. I choose to be loud at points. I choose to be happy, smiling all the time. I choose to be a good student, even if that doesn't get me any friends. I choose to be anything, if it's a good thing. That I know I won't get me in trouble sometimes. I choose to be the big sister for my younger siblings. I choose to be a good role model from now on, even if my temptations are in the way. I choose to live a good teenage life." This past weekend was her funeral. The person that she seemed to be, in her own eyes, that person she seemed to be in others' eyes is what ended her life. She wanted others to see her light. She wanted to have confidence in that light. But, as is a lot of times the case, a situation that involved police, allegations, and what usually clouds these stories of assumptions and stupidity and anger and confusion and fear. Too often we fail to see Christ's light in others through these clouds. So sorry for the downer as we begin this cold journey, but hope you stick with me here. The past few weeks in our gospel stories, we've traveled with Jesus and the disciples that they encountered crowds, and those crowds were seeking healing, yearning for their demons to be cast out, begging for that brokenness in their communities to be made whole. And if there were any doubts about who this Jesus was that these disciples were following, our moment today should have been the thing that sealed the deal. In the midst of Jesus' dazzling white clothes, flanked by these old prophets, Moses and Elijah, Peter started to stake a claim on the mountain, an attempt to preserve this moment of blinding faith. He wanted to settle down, stay a while. But after leaving his former life behind and wading through the crowds of people, witnessing the healings and compassion, after following Jesus up probably a treacherous hike up the mountain, their confidence in the midst of this light wavered. Fear tugged at them. They lost sight of what was happening. After all that they had seen, after the confirmation from that voice from the clouds, "Behold, my Son, the Beloved," Peter wants to set up a tent and stay. But who can blame him? Too often we do that with ourselves, honoring events or people. We grind everything to a halt under the weight of marble and steel. We're in a great place to have visual concepts of a national mall filled with memorials and monuments that give off a glow of awe and nostalgia of that more perfect union. And I love it. I love going down there. But we can miss what is behind it. The hard work, the collaboration, the blood and the sweat and the tears that make this thing chug along. We can be blinded to those blemishes and imperfections of those whose images are carved in stone. We mask the delight we can have in this moment behind pessimism and straw men. When Jessica Hernandez wrote her poem, her moment of transfiguration was coming. How often do we ourselves struggle with this idea of who we seem to be and who we really are and are chosen to be? We fail to delight in God's presence in our lives because we feel weighed down. But Jesus is determined to shine through, and we should not be afraid to look at it. The dazzling white, Moses and Elijah standing by his side, the words from the clouds. We need to hear and consume this story, to be reminded of the road, our lives as they get difficult or messy, but that Christ's light shines through. Every time we take communion, a blessing I share with usually the little ones who are not receiving communion yet is a cross on their forehead and the words, "May Christ's light continue to shine through you." Usually these words and the sign of the cross are on Mira's head, who's usually sleeping, or another little one. But a few weeks ago, when we had Mira's baptism, we had a number of friends in town, came from all walks of life. Atheists, Muslims, other Christian denominations. They came to celebrate Mira's baptism, and many of them came up to the communion rails. And some of them took communion, but the ones that didn't, it was some of the first time that I've encountered them with a stole and from outside the church and inside, and placing that cross and making that statement upon their foreheads was so powerful. I don't usually have this direct moment to consider Christ's light shining from those that we love. Jesus didn't bring his disciples up the mountain so that they could camp out and stay there and be still. This whole dazzling display was made as an affirmation of the hope and the faith that first drew them away from their tasks. That mountaintop view can be amazing. But like I told the kids, the work remains down below. It was that mountaintop picture that provided the big picture. Jesus is divine, the beloved. Be delighted in his presence. You need to digest this image, Peter. Carry this moment with you, James. Remember what you have heard, John. Be nourished by this time because the journey is about to get difficult. And for us, as we step into this week, when we begin to prepare for this long journey of Lent, may Christ's dazzling light shine through you so others may see it. And may we take the time to see the light emanating from others in our